Hello.
Howdy. How are you this evening?
Hi, everyone.
Look who I've got here. I've got the amazing Mrs. Laura Bain.
It's an honour.
It's great to be here with you. So here we are, Wednesday nights, Q&A. And normally, I guess we actually had Catherine and Isaac last week. We've had Beth join us and talk about social media. We're excited to have Jesse and Felicity come on and talk
That'll
about
be awesome.
worship. But tonight, the amazing Laura Bain and I are going to have a conversation together, inviting you to both listen in and then comment or ask your own questions all about, I guess, our heartbeat to pastor and care for our community.
Yay. I'm excited. We haven't done a live yet. We were talking about this before, so this is fun.
This is live without a net, and so we are just going to plough on. I guess we say without a net. We've actually got a 10-year net, so a lot of people wouldn't know that Laura started working for the church when she was 6 years old, and so I reckon well over 10 years now.
Yeah.
That when
21.
Karen and I first came in, you would have been finishing college. Mm-hmm. You headed off to Sydney to Hillsong.
Yeah.
Was that Hillsong Leadership College?
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And did 2 years there. And then Laura was actually one of our very first employees here, and has come in. And I guess the thing that Karen and I both admire and love and honour about you so much is that you've pretty much done 1,000 different things in the church. There's probably not much that you haven't actually had a crack at.
Yeah.
And we keep saying, hey, would you want to have a go at this? And you go, yeah, sure. Or would you like to open it? Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, Laura is an absolute testament to the fact that when we say these yeses to God, God just pours out his favour.
Yeah.
He opens the doors up, that we come to him completely ill-equipped. And yet he pours out his equipping power upon us. And I've seen that time and time again with you. So, Karen, I love you. Our whole church love you.
Thank you.
And so tonight, let's unpack a little bit of what's going on in community. So if the questions come up and we can't quite see them, that's okay. It's great to see all of our friends starting to jump on. Binu is here. You know Binu? Yeah. He actually does community transformation stuff as well. Binu. So what they're doing in the slums of Calcutta and the churches of Calcutta is amazing.
He do community on steroids over there.
Oh yeah. They're full on. They love until it hurts. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So tonight we've got this sense of how are we caring for our community, and I think that you have just picked up the vision of this house and just run with it and expanded upon it, which I'm just so grateful for. I think you can see a manager who takes what they've got and just sort of shuffles the bits around the board. You've taken some things and you've expanded it and increased it. And so, we actually had this sense of why do we want to be a church that cares for our community? If I sort of throw that question in, why? And then I'm going to see if I can pick up some of these comments here while you have a chit chat. So forgive me.
I think for me, it's really important to have a firm foundation in your own faith about why it is that God is asking you personally to love and care for other people. And as a church, as a corporate body, it does say in the scriptures that he wants us to go out into the world. He doesn't want us to stay in our own little club here. And when you've got such a wonderful gift like salvation, why wouldn't you want to go and share it with everybody?
That's awesome.
And also he said the greatest commandment was just to love me and love other people. And that didn't have any caveats or restrictions on it. It was love everyone, regardless of the background, regardless of what they've got in their bank account. On top of that, God has given me a really big revelation of a couple of scriptures in particular in the Bible. And can I share them with you?
Thanks, please.
Yes. So one of those is in Luke 4:17 to 21, and it says, the scroll of Isaiah the prophet was handed to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, and that the time of the Lord's favour has come." I love that. James 1:27 says, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. And it's really uncomplicated for me personally, in the sense that I always go back to, well, what did Jesus do?
Yes.
And where did Jesus find himself? He didn't just preach the good news.
Yeah, come on.
He demonstrated the good news, and he showed the good news, and he was constantly finding himself and delighted in the company of the poor and the widows and the sick.
Amazing.
And those that were in distress. And so as a church or as an individual, I just had such a huge revelation of that, and that is where I should spend my time.
Love it.
So
how good is that? That is just amazing. Well, I love that concept of where did Jesus find himself?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he sort of all of a sudden found himself there. He was so intentional about positioning himself in around people. He said, it's not the healthy people that need a doctor, it's the sick.
Yep.
I think we all understand that we all have need. It's not a matter of gender, class, race, age.
Right.
It's actually, we all actually have this need, and I think the way that you have been able to embody that heartbeat of the equality of the kingdom, that there's not first, second, third, we're all equal, is amazing. So, and then I think also you've got that sense of, it's very hard to give good news to people or preach the kingdom to hungry bellies.
That's right.
To broken hearts. And the way that Jesus healed and then led is an outstanding part of that community.
Yeah.
Could you reflect on me, questions without notice, for a second, that concept of good works, goodwill, good news?
Yeah, so I think good works often open the door to a conversation.
Yes.
If someone comes to you and it looks like on the outside that they're hungry, that indeed might be the need. But I think there's also, all of us have multiple different needs, whether they be physical, emotional, or spiritual.
Yeah, excellent.
But often meeting that physical need can open the door to a conversation that then can lead to an interaction with faith or indeed salvation.
Yeah.
And so we would say that we don't limit ourselves to just that meeting physical needs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can just be like any other aid agency in the world, and we actually leave people in the same condition almost than when we found them.
We don't want to be the Lions Club with tongues.
Yeah. But we want to help meet all their needs and help empower them and lead them to Jesus, who we believe to be the ultimate source of life and transformation.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, our journeys in faith, our journeys in the church, and it's certainly not limited to Abundant Life Church. There is an awakening in the church right across the globe that our faith has to have sticky edges.
That's right.
Where I think previously, often our faith has had very sharp edges, and it's moved into judgment or restriction or condemnation. And whether or not that's something that's been preached or something that's just been part of our understanding of our own brokenness and our own failings in our walk with Jesus, as opposed to this sense of our faith has sticky edges that invites people to start conversations and not needing to sort of get it done. They get to move and journey with Jesus, and that as we care for people, I think that's absolutely fantastic. So, what would you say would be what are some of the fun jobs that you get to do?
I think my number one ultimate fun job, that one of the favourite things I've done in the community has certainly been doing Kids Club. Steve and I fell into the role of doing a Kids Club like 8 years ago, I think it was now. And we did it because there was a need, not because I particularly felt honestly called to it, but that has had such a long-lasting effect and impact on my heart and my life. I think it's opened my mind to the strengths of people that come from such a wide range of community background. It's also challenged me in the way that I demonstrate love and service to other people. And it's been far more rewarding than I could have ever given. Every encounter I've had in the community,
So true.
I have always received far more back than I have ever given, and I've learnt far more than I ever could have taught. and I've always walked away really humble. I guess my other fun one would be doing carols. That's a little bit different to our general what we're talking about tonight, but that's always been so much fun.
Yeah,
doing carols.
But again, it's a similarity of saying, how can we throw open the doors of the church and actually, as the church goes out, not just expecting people to come in. And again, your reflection of where did Jesus find himself? Where he went to the places. I mean, some of the I'm sure it's in the Bible somewhere. Forgive me, but it was an old timey song that in the highways and in the byways, he went into those places. And in fact, it was actually a parable that the king sent his servant, which we could see as being Jesus, or indeed being us, to go out to the highways and the byways and not to find princes and princesses, not to find pretty people, but to find broken people who walked with a limp and who had wounds that needed the king's touch. So
he always found himself in crowds.
Yes, he did.
And he always noticed people in crowds, which I love. And when we do carols, I always try and look around and think, well, who would Jesus stop and interact with now in this moment? He would always find himself in those large groups of people ministering to them. Yeah.
Would you say that probably one of the greatest gifts we can do when we talk about community transformation is noticing the one?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And being willing to be stopped, both in a heart sense but in a physical sense. One of the things I constantly feel challenged by is in the Bible when Jesus stopped, he was always on his way somewhere.
Yes.
And all of us are so busy. We're all on our way somewhere, whether it to be to Woolworths or to soccer or wherever. And so many of us just go with this, I'm going to get something done. Or we're indeed just so wrapped up in our own worlds and life happens and that's totally normal. But we are not interruptible.
Yeah.
And I love that Jesus was always able to be interrupted.
Yeah.
And that's something I always want to be in my heart when I'm watching the news or flicking through social media. I don't ever want to switch off from that. I want to be interrupted. I want to be impacted. I want to be challenged.
Yeah.
And I want him to move my feet to go and do something.
Yeah, that's excellent. There is that compassion fatigue that we can sort of see that says I need to guard my heart against the worries, the concerns of the world, and yet God is actually calling us to pull those walls down and allow his compassion to move through us. So when Jesus saw the crowd, that said he had compassion upon them. That compassion means there's a deep inner stirring, and it's almost painful. And we try and inoculate ourselves from pain. We try and shut stuff out. Oh, I can't see that. I can't do that because I don't want the hurt. But often it's the hurt which in seeing, in recognizing, and either going there, but by the grace of God go I. Or indeed, then in that situation, going, that's the Father's pain in me.
Yeah.
My hero, Mother Teresa. I just absolutely adore the way that she just latched hold of what Jesus said to her. Says, "What you do for the least of these, you do for me." And she would constantly, wash lepers of every race and every religion in India. Horrible stories of cleaning maggots out of wounds and all that stuff, in her dying houses. But every time she touched someone, saw someone, it was as if she was doing that to Jesus.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And she never shut her heart off. So it's just that noticing that one. That's absolutely amazing. That's great. You've written here some notes, and it says that Jesus didn't just die on the cross for us. He came to reconcile everything, to make everything right that sin's ruined. How do our good works lead us into that? I guess it's a sense of, still in that sense of, why do we help?
Yes. Well, I think, firstly, we help because he asked us to. Great. But also, we want to empower people to live to a point where everything they do glorifies God.
Yes,
God's created us to worship him, and so regardless of your background, we should be able to teach people that. Worship through your work, worship through everything that you do.
Excellent.
Living in relying on emergency relief is not God's best for you, because you're designed to work.
Yeah.
You're designed to worship. And so that's why it shouldn't just end at a food parcel.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
We're all broken in all different ways. And I think there's no hierarchy in heaven. We're not just talking about materialistic poor here. We're all broken. But yeah, God just doesn't want to leave us in that brokenness. He wants to call us to rise and to just become more like Him, regardless of where you come from and regardless of how much money's in your bank account.
Yeah. We did a course and read some books early on in our journey. One of them was Ruby Payne's book, Bridges Out of Poverty.
Yeah.
And I remember her paralleling different classes and actually talking about the class war in our country is so much greater than we actually realise, but that upper class, middle class, lower class or generational poverty, they're actually not better than the other.
No.
It's actually like trying to compare France, Germany and Italy. They're just different, and each comes with its own set of values, some to be espoused and celebrated, and some that are limiting. So even from the sort of generational wealthy from old money, they had a whole bunch of hang-ups that couldn't actually see them move forward with peace in their heart or even a sense of purpose, to the same all the way through. And I think that for us starting to see the nobility in everybody and being able to witness that and call to that. You just made a statement which was just brilliant, that sort of love and that care doesn't stop with a food parcel. How do you see part of your role? I guess we've reflected on it a little bit with good works, making way for goodwill, making work for good news. But how do you see our role as a church in the food parcel being, or it could be the lawns, or it could actually be just sitting with someone having a cup of tea, or all raft of different things. We'll talk practicality in a second, but how do you see those things being an extension to how we talk about Jesus without having to sort of preach?
Well, I think it's important just to ask questions and to get to know people. I don't think you can help someone unless you like them. And always
Say that again. Sorry. Say that again.
I don't think you can really help someone unless you get to like them. And I think people see through ingenuine motive.
Yeah.
I've always just tried to go in and be me and to get to know people, get to know their life, ask them questions. And through that process, it's a very natural one. You have conversations, they ask questions, you make invitations. You don't shy away from your faith, but I think really just loving people where they're at, and that awesome. Trust and that friendship develops. Yeah. No, I absolutely adore that sentiment, and that ability to look at them. I think sometimes we overuse the word love, and sometimes to actually say, "Hey, I really like that person." They go, because I love lasagna. I love sleep-ins. And so when we actually say, "I really like that person," it moves us in different ways. So, look, what I guess my heartbeat is for this Q&A with you, and like I said, we're dotting these around. So we're talking about how Jesus would use social media, or how Jesse and Felicity are wanting to shape up our worship. And you were talking about worship isn't just a song. We can worship washing windows, our own or someone else's. If someone wants to come and wash my windows, I hate doing that. I would clean a toilet before I clean a window. I hate cleaning windows. Anyway, but so maybe I need to work on my worship there. So we're sort of dotting these around. There are some amazing opportunities for us to continue these conversations going forward, as to both inspiring, putting a theology around, and then practical approaches to that.
We want to talk about what happens when our helping hurts, and is it possible for our helping to hurt, to disempower, or to actually fragment, or indeed how can we still help when we are hurting ourselves? There's a whole raft of different things in there. We've got how do we overcome the senses of inferiority, insecurity? I can't do these things. What happens when we just go, I'm just exhausted, and we get that compassion fatigue. I'm really looking forward to drilling down into some of those things. How do we actually find what I'm good at? But look, with a couple of minutes left, what if we did where do I start?
Yeah.
And so we've talked sort of again theoretically around the heartbeat of the church, sticky edges.
Yeah.
Well, if we closed our doors, would people notice? Good works, goodwill, good news. Brilliant sort of stuff that we've, I guess, uncovered over a decade now.
Yeah.
But where do I start?
Well, firstly, I think you need to go to God and ask Him
that's
specifically to ask what He wants you to do. We can't all do everything, as the quote says, but we can all do something. And I think often the everything stops us from doing the something because we feel overwhelmed. And so when we talk about compassion fatigue or things like this, we need to go to God and say, God, what is it that you are asking me specifically to do? Some of us have such limited time or limited funds or whatever it might be. And so it's really important that we are specific and really prioritise what He is asking us to do and not try and just get overwhelmed by everything that comes and every TV ad for a charity that comes across our path. So that's what I would firstly do, is go to Him and say, where can I help? It's really important to just start at a good foundation, that you are not an expert on someone else's life. And I felt really personally challenged on this. Someone who's grown up in a really privileged community, a privileged household from a privileged country, and I've always had food on my table, money in my bank account, and have been incredibly blessed. That comes with a great responsibility, but also it's not my job to go to a poor community and tell them what I think they need, or to tell them what I think is best for them.
That's right.
God has been working in that community since the beginning of time.
Wow.
He has been good there. He's been good to me.
So
and
powerful.
My job is to come in and help uncover that goodness and to celebrate that with those people. I'm no expert, and so that's really important, asking lots of questions. The other thing I think is really important is just to come in and see, well, what's the need? I think so often we can be quick to jump in and think we know what the needs are.
Yeah.
But often what looks like the symptom on the outside is not actually the real issue at the core. And so asking questions and getting to know the community we want to help, or getting to know the people we want to be helpful with, and trying not just to solve or fix things, but just to really stop and consider what the needs might actually be, and then go, well, what do I love to do? What am I good at? What are my talents and gifts? Each of us have something that we are really good at or naturally talented
I've got many things.
Flute playing.
Recorder. The recorder.
Each of us have gifts and talents that we've been given with the intention to bless other people. And so it's important that whatever it be, I see my beautiful friend Teresa, who was online with me. She's just commenting now. Teresa is amazingly talented at cooking. And has blessed our church community abundantly with meals over and over again for people who've been in hospital or had babies or going through really challenging times. And I know that they've been an incredibly blessing, and a huge blessing, and she coordinates that whole ministry with her 50 children that she has and her job and all the other things that she's got going on in her life. Each of us have something that we can use to be a blessing and to worship God with.
Love that. So our time's done. I think there's honestly, guys, there is so much that we get to unpack. You have been gifted, and we've been given a gift to give away. We have been blessed in order to be a blessing. And I think that asking the questions, taking the time in a time pressured, time stretched, time poor community, we want to just go, well, just give me something and I'll pay, or just tell me something and I can do it. Whereas, or I've seen something and I'll do it, as opposed to taking the time to build the relationship, taking the time to fall in like with somebody, and whether or not that's actually a gift of washing windows or your story. I saw Barbie Abriza put up before. She said, I wonder if God sees my heart and overlooks my sense of humour.
He created it.
Yeah, he did. And if he's going to overlook your sense of humour, he's actually overlooking mine all at the same time. I'm often a very naughty boy. So, but God loves me and he sees our heart and he sees our attention. He's not hung up on the things that we can't do.
Yeah.
He's not saying you can't do it like this person, so therefore, again, we come into that hierarchy. He is celebrating life. He's looking for willing, surrendered hearts. He will take availability over ability.
Absolutely.
Every day of the week. And I think that was where we sort of started with you. That sense of availability is absolutely brilliant. So, guys, we've got heaps that we're going to continue to uncover with these Q&As. I've had a great time.
Me too.
First one that we've done live together. So I'm going to ask you to pray in just a second. But tomorrow night, we've got stories of me talking about... Be a good one. Yeah, it really is. Talking about, how we can actually open up doors or care for our community, not just with a physical gift, but with our story. So Jesse Hennessy is going to be here tomorrow night with Isaac. It's going to be brilliant. So how about you pray with us, and then I'll sign off on a few other things. And have you had fun?
I hope so.
I have. I really have. Thanks, Lozzie.
Oh, God, I thank you so much for the greatest gift of all, being your son Jesus, who came and just brought life and freedom and hope and healing to everyone, everywhere. And God, we are so honoured and privileged to be your vessels in this world, to be able to deliver that same hope and healing to everyone. And I pray that you would continue to help us to see more clearly the opportunities that you have placed in our life to be a blessing to other people.
Great.
I pray that you would help us to be interruptible. I pray you'd help us to be available. I pray that you would open our ears to hear and identify and
Lord.
listen better.
Yes, Lord.
And I pray that where those that are watching are feeling inadequate, like they're feeling overwhelmed or they don't have a lot to give, God, I pray that you would remind them of the amazing gifts and talents that they have on their life, the amazing resource that you have provided them, and that you would open clear doorways for them to bring salt and light to this world. Brilliant. We love you, Lord.
Yes,
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Yeah, so we don't need to have a lot. I think of the little boy with the loaves and fishes and fed 5,000. I think of, how many times God has taken something broken and turned it into something beautiful, a mess, and made something magnificent out of it. Our tests and our trials coming into testimony. Listen to my preachers cliches now. But listen, guys, we really want you to go and love somebody. You can do it. We've got Laura and a team of people here that if you want to know how to get more involved in being the sticky edges of the church, why don't you contact us at hello@abundant.org.au. Check out our website. There's a whole bunch of really easy ways that you can send messages and ask for information. We've got a church app for your phone that you can also get in contact with us at. And then obviously our ongoing Facebook and Spotify and online stuff. I'm taking off. This is actually my last time online for quite some time. I feel like I've been online nearly every day for about 6 months. There was a time there, and not that long ago, where I was doing 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and did that for weeks and weeks. So I'm going to have a bit of a break. We've got the team who's going to continue. And can I encourage you, share this. Yeah. Share this message. Maybe it's to an individual, maybe it's to your open platforms. The easiest way we've got to be able to sort of get that message out there that we are a church who cares. Yeah. Then I guess we'll see you tomorrow night. Yes. See you Sunday morning at 9 o'clock for church online. Yep. 10:30 a.m. in person. 10:30 a.m. in person. You're preaching. Last one. I'm cheering. You get the duo again. Woot woot. Woo! All right. You going to say it? Go.
Go and love somebody.
Amen. See you guys.
Bye.